Okay, well, I've decided to make some of these videos to help you go through the exercises, and I'll try to make the videos especially for the more complicated exercises that we'll be having later on. This one's not necessarily very complicated, but thought I'd make it to kind of get in practice of doing it and to also give you some practice on watching these solution videos. So the first thing that I suggest is that you take a look at the overall exercise that I've given you. And you can just skim through the exercise, certainly read the introductory materials. I always try to provide you with an overview of what we're really trying to accomplish. And notice also that I'm encouraging you to follow the directions given extremely closely. A little bit of a variation here or there can mean that it won't work. But of course, you're also encouraged to experiment and use your own knowledge, try things out, but you may have to come back to the exercise. You may have to back up a couple steps if you run into a dead end. You can also ask for some assistance if you get stuck, simply by sending an email to either myself or our TA. So today's exercise is intended to allow you to gain some practical experience with a few common system administrator duties, and we're going to be focusing on some security issues. So I've provided you with a scenario, and you'll need to propose a solution to the problem. Some of the answers expected of you will simply be written on the handout. Other parts of the solution will require you to work on your computer. So wherever you see this kind of a blue colored font, I'm expecting you to type in something right below it. And of course, remember to save your exercise often and change the name of the file from, in this case, System Administration to something like System Administration, your name, or your name, System Administration. And then email that back to me before the first part of class the following week. So here we are. The scenario is that you have a visiting research scientist will be joining your GIS team for a period of 2 weeks. She is considered a GIS guru, especially when it comes to digital elevation modeling. She will need access to the DEM grids located on your workstation, or DEM layers located on your workstation. So the first part here is simply asking you to provide a strategy or propose a strategy or solution to set up this user's profile. Let's say that they're going to be using the workshop profile that already exists on the computer, and that is in fact the case with the computers in the GIS Center, not so for the computers that are in Boise or Idaho Falls. But those workshop profiles, the workshop profile that we're simulating, those users have user privileges. If you can recall what that means from the lecture presentation earlier, you'll grasp that. It's not the same as an administrator, and indeed the person doesn't need that level of privileges, and so we don't need to give them administrator or make them part of the administrator or administrators group. We also should not assign a guest user group to this person, because they're going to be here for 2 weeks, which means that every day for 2 weeks in a row, this person's profile, their desktop, is going to be wiped out and set back to default, and that's not a very productive way to work. So you certainly do not want to add this person's profile to the guest user group. So write up something like I've just talked about, and that is what I'm looking for in question number 1. Now we go hands-on. Since much of the data she needs to utilize is stored on your workstation, we should share the folder containing your DEM grids. Don't worry about those actual DEM grids. They don't even have to exist for this exercise. It's just part of the simulation scenario. So we're going to launch Windows Explorer. A little tip here is you can press the Windows key, which is located between the Control and Alt buttons on your keyboard, followed by the E for Windows Explorer. That's what I just did. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my C drive and then to the data folder, which is the instructions I'm giving it here, and I'm going to create a new folder called IT4GIS. There we go. Then I'm going to go in to this folder and I'm going to create a subfolder called DEM Share. Again, just doing this here, just typing it in. And notice I'm not using any spaces in between the word DEM and share. You can, if you want, use an underscore. You can use a dash if you want to, but certainly do not use breaks. ArcGIS still will have some problems if you have DEM space share in the name. Not all the time, but some tools, spatial analysis type of things that you're going to try to run will very likely have a problem with that, and it's going to cause you unnecessary grief and frustration. So just skip any sort of spaces. Use something like this. Use camel backing uppercase and lowercase letters mixed together, sort of like this admin files is showing right here. Anything like that, but no spaces. Now we're going to create another subfolder under the IT4GIS folder called admin files. Okay, so here I am in IT4GIS, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to call it admin file. See, I'm camel backing it here. Capital A, lowercase for all the rest of that word, and then capital F, and all the rest lowercase for that word files. And indeed, our directory now does look just like this. We'll go to page 2. Now let's assign permissions to these folders so that the visiting scientist can access the geospatial data needed for her part of the project. And we're going to follow these steps closely. Right-click on the IT4GIS folder, right here, IT4GIS, and we are going to select Properties. We're going to click the Security tab right here. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that you, whatever your profile, however you're logged in my case I am logged in as an administrator, has full control. So if I go over here to administrators, yes, we see indeed we have full control. So that's good. We want to make sure that we don't give up full control on our own folder and kind of lock ourselves out. So if this is not the case, what you would do is follow these steps over here to make sure that you do have access to your own folder. And by default, you certainly should. I'm going to click OK and close that Properties window. Next, we're going to set some special permissions. These are permissions, not privileges, for the DEM Share folder. So we're going to go back into IT4GIS, find the DEM Share folder, and we are going to right-click it and choose its properties. Again, we're going to go back to the Security tab. Now you should see here that the permissions of the parent object, IT4GIS, have been inherited by this child object, DEM Share. In other words, this one will have the same control assigned to both you and the administrators, exactly as you saw it just a minute ago. But now it's time to give the visiting scholar some special permissions or access to the DEM Share folder. To do this, we're going to click on Edit. Okay? And now we're going to click Add. And down here, it says select this object type from this location. This is the name of my computer, my workstation. That's what you'll see located here. Select users or groups. Well, now on my operating system it says enter the name of the objects over here. And this is select users or groups is the name of this window. Okay. And in this text box we're going to type workshop without the quotes. Whoops, and spell it right is important too. And we're going to check names. Now I'll tell you what's going to happen here. is on my computer it's not going to be able to find Workshop because I don't have a Workshop user on my desktop. But I do have another one here. Well, I used to. You're going to end up typing in Workshop here, or the name of another profile, any name of another profile that you know exists on your workstation. Okay? So you're going to go ahead and do that, and then you'll click OK to add that user to the Properties window. And you'll see that that user, let's say in this case we're going to deal with user, all right, has been added. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the user that we just added, and I'm going to simulate that it's this user profile, and we're going to click on it, and it's going to appear highlighted. I'm going to go to page 3. Now, based on the lecture in class, the presentation on the security strategies and what we've been talking about already, what type of permission should she be given? Permissions, again, for files in this folder. Should she be given full control? Should she be given modify, read and execute? What do you think? Well, remember one of the rules we talked about earlier is to never give anyone who's connecting up to your computer or a computer remotely, and that's what's happening here. You're setting up data on your machine to be accessed by this person through a network connection, a network share. So you never want to give those people write access to your machine. It's way too easy to accidentally delete something. And when you delete a file using a network connection, a shared resource, that deleted file does not go into the recycle bin. It goes straight to cyberspace and it is lost forever, if you want to call it that. There's no way to retrieve those things once you delete over the network. So don't do that. What we're going to want to do is make sure that we give this person read and execute. Okay, we're going to allow read and execute, list folder contents, sure, these sorts of things. Write, do not do this, because write is the same as, or a write permission is used to delete files. So what we're going to do is we're going to do read and execute, list contents, and read checkboxes, all under the allow. Now if we go out and we deny full control, well, that's as good as taking all this stuff away. So don't deny things, just allow only certain things. Okay, now carefully use these, and then it says, okay, click apply, and then okay. Then it says, now carefully use these same techniques and make sure that the visiting scholar does not have access to your admin files folder. So what we're going to do is go back here to admin files, take a look at its properties, its security, and make sure that the workshop user or whatever user you have added in here does not have access to your admin files. And this could be any sort of file that this other person should not have access to. Now we need to share this DEM share folder. So we're going to go back to the DEM share folder's properties, and we're going to now choose the sharing tab. Immediately we're going to click on the advanced sharing button. There's a little shield there warning you, hey, you could end up getting yourself in trouble by doing this, so certainly be careful that you don't expose your computer unnecessarily to the whole world and get hacked into or something like that. From the advanced sharing dialog box, that's where we are, place a check in the share this folder. Click the permissions button. right down here, and check to ensure that Administrator, IT4GIS, and Workshop are on the list. If not, add them following the same process we used earlier. Okay, so let me walk through this process. Very, very similar type of thing that we use to set those permissions. So right now it says everyone can read. Well, we'll leave that alone for a little while. We're going to add, and let's go ahead to Administrator. Check that name. Sure, it's good. See how it appeared? So that's good. And Administrator. Okay. And we're going to allow the administrator full control. Administrator full control. So under the permissions for administrator, we want to make sure workshop, so you'll add workshop in here, is given read access. Okay, otherwise they will not be able to access it remotely, and that's what we're trying to do, is set it up so that they can access this remotely. In addition, make sure administrator and you, IT4GIS, well in my case I am the administrator on this machine, are given full control of this resource. Double check and make sure the appropriate share permissions are set for you, the administrator, and workshop user. Before we commit to this change by clicking apply and OK, there's one problem we must first address. And so, don't be clicking apply and OK right here. Just wait a bit, read this through, and don't do that click apply and OK until we tell you to do so in the steps. Notice that by default everyone is given read access. We don't want this. To correct it, simply select everyone and remove them from the list. Boom. What we don't want to do is we do not want to have everyone and deny them any control, because you and the administrator and IT4GIS and Workshop, they're all part of everyone, and you would accidentally lock yourself out. So all we're going to do is we're going to click on everyone and remove them from the list. And now administrator still has full control, change and read. On to the next page. When you're finished choosing the people or groups you want to share the files with, click apply and OK. Then we're going to click apply and OK one more time. And then we're going to click the close button, step 19. Now let's test this shared resource. We're going to launch Windows Explorer, okay, right here. From the left side of Windows Explorer, we're going to navigate to and click the network link right there. Navigate to your computer through the network. So if your computer is named Absorca, whatever it is, let's go ahead and find it. My computer is named Pyrenees, as you saw earlier. Do you see the share folder you just created? Hey, there it is. Can you read and copy data from the shared folder? Okay, there is, I'm inside the shared folder. How can we test to see if we can read and copy data from it? Well, what I can do is I can go back here. Now when I click on this button, this window, I'm using IT4GIS and DEM Share locally. When I'm using it here, I'm using it remotely. So if I come over here and I say new text document, README, okay, instantly I see this on my share. And if I want to, I could copy this here and then go to my desktop and paste it there. So I was allowed to read this, and in fact, if you recall, since I'm logged on as administrator, I do have full control on this end also, simply because I didn't want to lock myself out of my own folders. But again, this is me using my machine locally. This is me using my machine remotely. So let's leverage this same share through ArcGIS. We're going to use ArcCatalog to establish a working connection to this DEM share folder. And so let's go ahead and launch ArcCatalog. And we're going to use this Connect to Folder tool that you should have already learned and used probably many times through Principles of GIS or Advanced GIS. So ArcGIS 10.2 ArcCatalog is launching. Little splash screen stays up here for a little while. So here's ArcCatalog. I'll close up some stuff that we don't need. We're working locally on this machine. And I'm going to use the Connect to Folder tool right here. And what's the folder I want to connect to? Well, it's on my computer. It is the C. It is data. Here's IT4GIS DEM share. And there again is the readme.txt file. Did this work? Well, if not, make sure that you see me, ask for some assistance. I like to have you paraphrase what you think in your own mind, in your own words, what happened in this exercise. Tell me what you learned in this exercise, what you learned that's new to you, and how do you feel about the experience? Comfortable, confused, lost, nothing to it, easy, whatever, something like that. It doesn't have to be very detailed, especially on this last one right here, and you'll end up getting 30 points for these sorts of questions that you'll see appearing on most every exercise that we do. That's it. That's the process right there. And of course, if you wanted to have a friend or a classmate that might be sitting next to you, try to access your share through the network. That's really how this is designed to work. Or if you want, you could log in to another computer that's next to you and see if you can access the share folder that you created literally through the network on a completely separate machine. That's kind of fun to see how that works if you've never done that before. And it's very useful for moving files around to help enable the enterprise. I hope this was of some help to you. I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.